Chester Burrows.
The Chair, and it's good to be able to take some time to be able to address some of the matters that have been raised. The previous speaker has made a number of comments about the ability to recover the levy and why the levy has been set where it has been at $50. The ranking of reparation fines and the levy, community-based sentences and the levy, and then the cost of administration. So it's interesting to note that the way that the court looks now at recovery of monies is that reparation sits at the top in priority as far as recovery goes. Reparation is generally ordered as well as a community-based sentence, frequently as well as a custodial sentence, and also where a fine has been given as a sentence, and so reparation being paid to the victim or the complainant, and it has priority, and so it's the first money that is obtained, and so it should be. Community-based sentences go hand in hand also with reparation and don't affect the recovery, and energy is put in by collections to able to get their mitts on the money that is reparation and to forward that back to the victim, the complainant. Fines can be commuted to community-based sentences or to prison, and so they should be, but reparation never is. We heard within the Select Committee process, and the previous speaker was obviously there and able to be able to hear all this, so I'm surprised that she doesn't quite have a handle on this just now. But we heard that actually a lot of time would not be spent in the recovery of a levy, especially if all that was left of a sentence was the levy to recover because of the size of that levy. We also heard that the reason why it was set at $50 is that when you look internationally at comparable schemes, this is about the same dollar figure between currencies, and that is why a $50 levy was chosen. There is also to take into consideration the size of the levy and the likelihood of recovery, and if it was, say, moved to $100, it would be harder to recover. It would be a big amount, maybe more worthy of spending energy and resources on recovery. And what we're aiming for here is, of course, for every person who is convicted of an offence before the courts to have the $50 levy imposed on them, and what we know is that the vast majority of them have no problem in paying it. So we're expecting 68% initial compliance straight off with the levy, and that will glean for the Crown, and so for the Victims Fund, about $13 million in the first 4 years. We had the fairly rash statement from the previous speaker initially that there was about $7 million would be obtained, but it would cost about $7 million to recover, and so there was basically a nil gain. That was the initial statement from the previous speaker, and so you can tell I was listening. And so you've got to wonder then why such an astute Labour Party that now finds itself in opposition would even back or even vote for this. And I'm not sure that she even said to the House that the Labour Party was supporting it, but for those who are interested and those who are listening at home, they are supporting it, so you've got to wonder why. Well, if it's the scheme as outlined by the previous speaker. And the reason is because it actually puts victims first. The reason is this is what the public want in this country. This is where we're going. So let's just examine the fallback position of the previous speaker, who said it was going to gain about $30 million over 4 years, but it was going to cost, out of that $30 million, it was going to cost about $6.5–7 to actually recover. Well, the figures we were given within the Select Committee was that the total cost of recovery moved over 4 years between $1.126 million to $1.344 million over the 4-year period, but the net gain was going to be $2.932 million in the year 2009-10, up to $4.395 in the year 2013-14, which is actually net revenue, so that means after those administrative and recovery costs are taken out. This scheme is going to recover $13 million in the cause of victims in this country, which isn't currently in the pockets or able to be gleaned for victims to cover the costs of being a victim or a complainant in this country. And that is a very, very, very good thing. And I'm proud to be part of a government that has taken that stand and proud that it's got the cover across the House.
Honourable Simon Power.
Chairman,